This is super, super impromptu, and to be honest, there's actually a tarot reading in this video, which is what I actually did first. I first did a tarot reading, and many of us probably really are fans of Prince and Michael Jackson. They are iconic, and I have been thinking a lot about them lately for some reason. Well, Prince, I watch at least twice a week. I watch one of his performances that I really like, a live performance. I watched the video, and Michael, of course, like Michael Jackson's music is just always, there. You can just turn on a song and immediately just rock out to it. So I do listen to their music, I would say at least like both of them once a week or more than once a week. So I don't know, I was just thinking a lot of just about their artistry, their legacy, and just the music industry today, and just really trying to reflect and think about what made them so successful, especially just during the time in which they were producing music and making music. So in general, you will see also a tarot reading is what really sparked this, and I'll talk about that once we get to the tarot reading. But right now, I had no intention of doing this. However, I always felt it was interesting that both Black musicians who were just very iconic, very unique. I think, and so one thing I do want to frame at in the forefront of this is using the software that I have. So it has ratings for birth charts. So Prince's birth chart is actually in this software, and his says AA in this software, which means is a birth chart. It's a birth time record. So this is Prince's chart of record. Whereas with Michael Jackson, for many years, for a long time, it's always been unverified. So for his, we actually don't know if this is his actual birth chart. What we do know is that a lot of astrologers have gone with this Pisces Rising one, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think to touch people in the way that they did as musicians, and to reach so many people who are crying, like Michael Jackson had people crying at his concerts. That's a Piscean thing, to be able to leap bounds and really connect to people on a universal way. Whereas we know Prince, through this Scorpio rising, was way more sexual with his music and way more provocative with his music. But also he had that sound that also channeled your emotions as well. Okay. And so I thought at first I just want to take a look at where there are parallels, where there are differences. They did have a subtle rivalry, but I think it's so interesting to look. If Michael Jackson's rising is Pisces, if this is his birth time, which a lot of astrologers have done readings on and consider this as most likely it, look at the parallels between Prince and Michael Jackson. Look at this. If they're both water risings, both have fire, passion, direction in their second house. One, Aries. So Michael Jackson more so having to break free or break through in order to stand on his own from his, starting out as a Jackson 5. So having to start out, having to move beyond that would be very interesting to see. 27th degree can be linked to, right? Can be linked to siblings, right? We look at the 27th degree, we can make that determination. And so siblings, Taurus, making your money off of your relationship with your siblings. So, obviously Michael Jackson stood out struck out on his own, but also we do see the fact that he, for all intents and purposes, he definitely had a start with his, his brothers, the Jackson 5. So it's interesting just to look here, especially at the third house, which is siblings, to see what's there and see what we can make of it. Janet is also Taurus, his sister. And so we just see parallels here. Look, then both of them have, so if both of them have Earth on the third house cusp, both would have air on the fourth house cusp. Okay? Again, siblings, Gemini energy in the cusp of this fourth house, his IC being in Gemini, which would be relating to this idea of having to, communication between siblings, having to be around them a lot. Locality. Gemini is what you're around a lot. So this is being a theme. The 19th degree, okay, it's a Libra degree. This harmony, this family that it's not an emotional, though you can say any family can be close, and though there's always going to be levels to someone that we don't understand because we're not involved with those people. There is a level here of just it's a communication type of family. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of we're going to do this together. We're not seeing water energy though in this fourth house. Look, the fifth house of confidence, of where you actually go to feel safe. If Michael has Cancer, that it makes perfect sense. The fifth house is this idea of not safe, but it's our confidence. It's where we feel safe expressing ourselves. The fifth house is a very personal house, but we can see what the person is doing there because it can be related to talent. And Cancer here, again, is connected to this idea of emotions, releasing emotions, using your emotions to interact with the world. And I think Michael did that a lot, where it was hard sometimes to, he was very sensitive. And I think that definitely correlates with this moon here, this moon in Pisces. But a moon in Pisces that is pretty much thorough. Like, okay, his appearance changed, right? His appearance changed over time. We know that he had vitiligo and then he underwent some, procedures and things of that nature. But definitely having Pisces as your rising, definitely having Pisces in the first house, if he is the moon in the first house, would make sense. Changing, adapting in some way would make a lot of sense if this is Michael's, rising sign and chart. So it's interesting just to see the parallels here. Now, Prince, as we see here, has an interception of Pisces in the fourth house. But he has a moon in Pisces just like Michael. But his is at the first degree. It's that experimentation degree. It's that I'm going to dive into this degree. That's why you saw a lot of Prince had a lot more, he definitely had a level of caring about people outside of himself. However, Prince had a very self-awareness. I think both Michael and Prince had situations where they had to stand up for their music. Michael said things about the industry at the time that people were not saying, and we know Prince as well had to change his name at a time because he was trying to show that he basically was trying to make this. Remember, he came to the award ceremony with slave written on his face. He was trying to bring awareness to the fact that artists were getting robbed. So he's one of those early artists that are saying artists deserve rights. Record labels can't just take all your money. And Michael also spoke up about some of the shady practices in the industry as well. So both of them have that I don't want to be taken advantage type of energy. Okay. Now again, Prince, I think a little bit more daring with the way he did things. Okay. That Aries on the fifth house cusp and that Mars and Aries energy, coming to an award ceremony, the way he, when he wore the pants with the cutout pants and things like that, way more experimental, way more, daring than we would say Michael was. Whereas Michael was very inventive. If we look here at the sixth house, we look at the fact that work. First of all, that's already a Virgo work ethic. If Michael had his Virgo, look at this. Because we know Michael didn't put out things that were shoddy, and neither did Prince. But we're looking at Michael as this Virgo prototype. Sun in Virgo, 6 degrees. 6 degree Virgo already. In the sixth house. Okay. So you're getting the craft, the perfecting. And Virgo and Pisces, I think Michael put a lot of thought into his image. Wanted his image to be a certain way. Wanted his image to be soft. Didn't want his image to be very too extreme, but at the same time wanting to shine and being able to shine. Uranus and Leo. Well, we also have Prince with Uranus and Leo. That generation already has a different understanding of what it means to be prominent or to be important. And then we would have to look at where do they have Uranus in the chart. The ninth house of ideology, of philosophy, of beliefs. I think more so than both pushed boundaries, but I think Prince definitely teetered that line between boundaries, but also, sometimes embracing a very androgynous look, but still having his, still exuding his masculinity and claiming his masculinity, but also at the same time being very experimental in how he looked and how he appeared on stage. That's a very Aquarius type energy. And we're noticing here, he had Aquarius in the fourth house cusp. So there was a comfortability, there was an emotional comfort with being different, whereas some people could shy away from that. Uranus being in his ninth house also makes him very experimental, very much, yes, just go with it. I can see Prince seeing an outfit and someone saying like his stylist or someone, he's just like, yes, that's the one. And that was a definite part of his image. Pluto and Leo in the 10th house. So we see here, this is about transformation. This is about shining. This is about being seen. This is about him even wanting to change the way in which artists appeared. How they, again, how they were treated is a part of a lot of his, work that he did when it came to owning his own work, owning his own rights to his music. So we look at the fact that the 29th degree, especially, we want to look at the fact that we can definitely say there's a correlation there. There's a correlation between him also evolving as an artist, not just staying the same. The 29th can be associated with Leo. So already he's Pluto in Leo. So that represents star power, okay? Having that star power. Look at this. Then he has Leo at the cusp. Like, look at this. This is like written. It's written in the stars. Look at this. 29th degree. So this house starts at the 29th degree in Leo. 29 can be associated with Leo. Pluto in Leo. So yes, if he worked hard, he was going to evolve over time, because we also can notice here he has Saturn in Sagittarius. So another fire sign. Now, he did have to work hard at that. This is in retrograde. Okay. Retrogrades. Now, he has more. Let me see. Does he have more than Michael? Not really. Yeah, he does. North nodes don't typically count for retrogrades. All north nodes are going to show up with retrograde for people's charts. So, that Saturn and Sagittarius, starting out. Now, what you're going to see the tarot reading in a moment. So, Michael had to work very hard within his upbringing to do this. Work, Mars, get up, let's do this. 22nd degree is a Capricorn degree. Capricorn degree is achievement. It is status. It is, you're going to go do this. Now, Mars and Taurus is going to make you work. You're not going to get it instantly. And we know that Michael's father really pushed the Jackson 5 to rehearse, to sing, to be the performers. So this is early on in his life. We're seeing Michael deal with this. Remember, Taurus is already on the 3rd house cusp, and he has Mars in Taurus. So that is connecting the sibling situation. And that work ethic actually, and I know Michael did have some difficulties with the way he was raised, but he carried that work ethic with him, and he was already a Virgo. Now, he always has this Leo energy. So it's not just the work hard, work hard, work hard. We did see a joyous side of Michael. He did have a sense of humor. Okay. But he also, there was also part of that sensitivity that people saw in Michael, but there was also a sense of resilience we also saw. And I think that's because of that Pisces, if that Pisces rising is at that 10th degree, which really would add to a firmness there, but also still this whimsical, idealistic dreamland. I think that's why a lot of people think he is that Pisces rising, because it fits him. It really fits him. This, the Neverland theme, the excessive need to kind of disconnect a little bit from what we typically would see adults acting like. But I also would say, if we look here, we also can see the fact that Leo is also known, of course, Michael was going to want to have children, okay? Because he has Leo. Look at this. Venus and Leo people tend to want or have children. Now, again, somebody will be like, I don't want. That's fine if you don't. But Leo energy, when you see Leo in someone's chart, especially if there's a stellium or there's more than one Leo sign, there's usually going to be a theme around having children, okay? He also has Cancer on the cusp of his 5th house. And the 10th degree can be related to Capricorn, which is parental energy. So that parental energy led him up. He had 3 children. And so with that, we see Leo, right? We see Leo show up. He has Mercury in Leo. That's his creativity. That's his ability to capture us, capture our attention with his voice, with the way he spoke. Mercury and Leo people, a lot of them tend to have voices that are a little... now, his voice is very sensitive. It's a very sensitive voice. But they tend to have voices that are very captivating in some way. You're right? There's a sense of joy. There's such an upbeat energy. But also, Mercury being in the 6th house, he was very deliberate in what he would say. You would look at Michael's video. A Michael interview. Deliberate in what he would say and what he wouldn't say. And Venus in Leo definitely is that generous energy. So, of course, he gave back to a lot of people. And 17 is a Leo degree as well. Now, again, this video is just looking this is just looking at their chart placements. We're keeping it to the astrology right now. We're not talking about anything else, whether you liked them, you didn't, whatever. We're talking about icon. We're just talking about this iconic energy here. And Uranus in Leo at the 13th degree, well, we definitely can see the fact that there was, he was different. He presented very differently. His work ethic was also different. The way he lived his life, his daily habits were very strange to a lot of people. And 13 degrees Aries, energy. So in Leo, so now we're talking about the fact of like, just he's going to do his own thing, and people are going to notice that his daily life and his habits and his routines are just a little strange. Some of it worked for him. Wearing the glow on glove, that worked for him. Having different ways in which he approached things and did certain things really worked for him. Now, he had Pluto in Virgo. Prince had Pluto in Leo. As we can see when they were born, you can kind of see what happened here, right? So when Prince was born in June, look at that 29th degree. That Pluto was about to change anyway. So by the time Michael was born, they were born the same year, Pluto had then moved into Virgo. So we kind of see the differences there in that. There's a same generation. These men were from the same generation. Make no mistakes about that. But Pluto and Virgo, now you have a different quality. And again, the Pluto is an outer planet. It's not the person. It's usually the circumstances in which we start to see them unfold. But if we can see that his sun is conjunct his Pluto, definitely obsessive about his work, obsessive about his routines, probably some OCD behaviors as well. Looking at that 6th house, his Mercury being in retrograde does speak to perhaps the sensitive talking, the very deliberate way in talking, wanting to still having that charisma of Mercury and Leo, but not wanting to say certain things, kind of second guessing maybe some of his speech. When earlier in life would have likely in his interviews needed to be coached on what to say when he was getting interviewed when he was a little kid, perhaps. Now, if another part of looking at what we have here, Neptune in Michael's chart definitely can also speak to, if we're looking at a Piscean theme for Michael, we definitely can see here where he has this kind of need for transformation, this need to change because of things he's faced that are hard for him. Neptune in Scorpio goes to the depth of things, the deepest recess of ourselves. And Neptune can be great. Michael probably had some spiritual beliefs. I don't know quite what they were, but I know that he was, he was raised Jehovah's Witness. So if someone he's Neptune in Scorpio and 2nd degree, okay, that's pretty firm in his belief system, but also him having Saturn and Sagittarius in the 9th house. Sagittarius is belonging to the 9th house. So that's why when he had the Thriller video, if you remember the disclaimer before you see the Thriller video where he said that he doesn't believe in anything in the video because it would go against his religious beliefs. And he talked about how he observed his religion and didn't celebrate certain holidays and things of that nature. So him being religious was a part of him still kind of holding on to that of how he was raised. But he probably likely had other ideals, very optimistic and hopeful in the way which he looked at certain things in life. So even though he had his own religion, Neptune in the 8th house could definitely mean there's other things perhaps that he also felt as well. And also with Neptune being there, I think this also adds this need for transformation and illusion though, because Neptune is illusion. And if you're already this Pisces rising, moon in Pisces person, anything that he internalized deep added to the transformation that we saw before us, where there was a lot of change in his appearance throughout the years. And Venus, we talked about Venus for Michael. Okay, we talked about Venus. Now if we look here, we're going to look at Prince. So Prince's Venus being in the 6th house is interesting. So Venus in Taurus. So Prince was known for, he had relationships with a lot of the women that he worked with, that he founded. He had those relationships. I think one of his wives, she was his dancer, backup singer, something like that. So it's not surprising. People who have Venus in Taurus, Venus in the 6th house in general, tend to, find partners that they work with in the workplace. And his just happened to be that he's in the entertainment, he was in the entertainment business. And 7 degrees, this togetherness, this I need a partner, I like partnership. He did. However, we have to also understand the fact that Mars it can be the sex drive, and Mars in Aries though is also this impulsiveness, impromptu. Some of his relationships tended to overlap. Okay, that Mars in Aries is a little bit more direct and forthcoming in their need to get and obtain who they want to date, who they want. Whereas you see with Michael, this Mars in Taurus, it's not really going after anyone. It's not really pushing to get anyone, especially when we look at the fact that the fifth house can be dating, flirting, things like that. As it's dating and flirting, we see that there's no planets in here, but Prince has Aries on the cusp of the fifth house, and he has Mars in Aries. So we see more dynamic type of romances going on. We have way more of a list of Prince's romances than Michael's romances. Michael having Cancer on the fifth house cusp, meaning relationships that he had or any of the rumors or anything we heard was about closeness. He wanted closeness, not just a variety of partners, most likely based on the chart. Sometimes with some people, if you see 7th and 8th house placements, that will indicate the person, there will be, especially certain types of planets, you will see there's a marriage somewhere. And we know Prince was married twice. He also has his son at the 16th degree. Okay, so there's some type of coming together, some type of trying to build a home with someone in Gemini. And so his son being in Gemini, always trying to evolve with his thoughts. Even before Prince passed away, we did see he did change. He was changing. He had calmed down a little bit. I think he was getting more in touch with himself and his own beliefs. And it was no more about the young shock value that we saw in Prince. And I don't think Prince was doing anything for shock value. I think that was just what he was doing when he was young, and he was just experimenting with music and produced so many hits, obviously. And his Mercury being in Gemini. So the interesting thing about their Mercuries is the way, so Michael was known for how he made us feel about music, and so is Prince. But I think Prince's interviews, we listen and latch on to the way he explains things. I think that is a strength that we probably saw within that Mercury and Gemini energy. But that Mercury and Gemini is great for songwriting. Great for songwriting, great for the creativity. Also with him being a musician. So we know Prince was all about the music. He was very direct about how he felt about people who were in the music industry but didn't actually know how to play instruments or didn't value that. So we can definitely see that through the fact that I think also him having this 12th house energy added to the internal creativity. What we have to understand about creativity is there's creativity that we all can access. There are things that we all can learn how to do, right? But there are certain things that you have to be skilled to do, or you have to have the aptitude to do it. And so I think his Neptune in Scorpio was him always trying to push the boundaries of his music with him. So one thing about Prince is one of his live videos. It's so interesting to watch Prince. So I forgot the man's name. Okay, so the song is, it's the live version of Do Me Baby, and I forgot the guy's name, but his last name was Dickerson. So the guy is playing the guitar, and Prince comes on stage. It's on YouTube, the video. And Prince, you can look at Prince, and you see the moment the music hits his soul. So it's not just hearing the music, it's the soul. And it's just such an interesting moment to watch. To see the musician do that, to see the minute he knows the music's hit his soul and he's ready to sing. That's a 12th house thing. He's got to have a 12th house placement. And he does, right? His North Node is in Scorpio. So yes, he was here to help us understand the depths of ourselves. And through the music, he challenged a lot of things, but still was able to help us understand things in a more intricate level. The North Node in Scorpio person is making things more intricate, understanding things at their depths, pulling up things that are taboo. A lot of the things that Prince sang about, I believe one of his songs at one point was banned off a radio station back in the day. Scorpio is this sign of sex. And so his North Node being in a conjunct Neptune in the 12th house in Scorpio, there was that embodiment of that. And not just sex, but I think also just this deeper, going a little bit more, not afraid to travel down certain roads, not afraid to challenge certain things, not afraid to take it to the next level and make it intense. But again, it wasn't a shock value. That's why I said it wasn't shock value, because it's in the 12th house. The 12th house is like, I'm giving back. And I feel like Prince most likely knew he was giving back to us or giving back to the world through his work. Now, he's in retrograde. His Neptune's in retrograde. So that's, a little bit different, where it's like, I sense with that, what it most likely was is he was great at what he did and he believed in what he did, but sometimes maybe he felt like some of his stuff, he's always pushing himself. It's got to be better. It's got to be better. It's got to be better. So I think that's more, his Neptune being in retrograde, I think is more of an internal thing that he might have dealt with, more so than anything that we would visibly see. And Jupiter and Libra in the 11th house is beneficial. Having Jupiter in 11th house, so, you know, within his career, he worked with a lot of people. He collaborated with a lot of people. He also brought a lot of people to the forefront, or vanity, for example. Like people that he worked with, he was able to put them on as well. Through Jupiter and Libra is great at bringing people together, negotiating contracts for other people. Now, being in a retrograde could mean like some of these unions fell apart. Some of these friendships or some of these associations might have fell apart. Again, sometimes we'll see certain things in a chart and we might not fully understand it, but the person themselves would understand it, right? What they experienced through that energy. Michael also had Jupiter in Libra, but his was in the 8th house. So with him, it was a little bit more hesitant to join up with everybody. Whereas I think with Prince, there was more of an openness. There was more of a collaborative thing. Now, Michael did collaborate with people, but look, he has his Jupiter, the 28th degree, so it's almost about to leave and go into Scorpio. So he's a little bit more selective in what he gives in, or who he associates with. A little bit more selective. So there'd be people that Michael probably got along with, were friends with, but you wouldn't even know. The 28th is also a Cancer degree. It's more private. So his Jupiter and Libra energy, it's a little bit more private. Whereas with Prince, we see it a little bit more openly through the 11th house of association. And then we also see through that, okay, 21, we're dealing with Sag energy. Different types of people. Rubbed elbows with different types of people, all walks of life. You would say Michael did as well. You could definitely, obviously the collaborations he did and things of that nature. We see Sagittarius here, emerging as the midheaven, which is interesting because with Sagittarius being there, I definitely see in 19, okay, Libra. Okay, both of them had fire midheavens, passion, right? Going for what they wanted. With Michael, there's more of a universalism. With Prince, it is the stardom. They're both icons, right? But Sagittarius midheaven is living in accordance with your truth and your purpose. I think both did that. But with Prince, I think we definitely got more of the presenter. With Michael, the forefront was also his work ethic and how he did things. And with Prince, we definitely get that Leo, I'm just going to do things my way. I'm confident. Look at me. I'm confident. Michael's confidence was in the music, the work, the specifics. And Prince, I think it was in, I'm good at this. This is my skill. Look at, and not look at me. I don't think it was ever that energy because he was immensely talented. Okay. Immensely talented energy. And so when we moved, and so it was interesting, we go into this. So Prince and people are like, well, why haven't they have never collaborated, or have they, why didn't they get along, or whatever the case may be? Well, the reason for that, look at this. So let's look at where each other's energy is in their own chart, in their charts. So if you have an energy intercepted, it's not the end of the world, but it can mean it's a little bit harder to truly embody or understand or relate to that energy all the way. So Prince just happens to have Virgo, which is Michael's sun sign, which he projects in the 10th house. And it's intercepted. So it doesn't fully resonate. It doesn't fully resonate. It doesn't fully shine through. And so that could be that. And also, again, in their own right, they were immensely talented. So I don't do comparisons. I would never look, well, this is, who was better? They're both amazing. And I don't know if we will get any icons. Like, I don't know if we're going to get any more icons. We have a couple, I guess, still around. But as far as like this magnitude of like star power, what would it take for someone to actually be able to rise to that level? And, that's a very interesting question. But again, I think it's very interesting both having Pisces moons, what that means, because there's, Pisces moons are very sensitive. They are very prone to sensitivity. But at the same time, we see that those are in very different houses, and that means it's going to, it's going to be very different. Whereas, here we notice there's different layers to Prince's chart and different layers to Michael's chart. So let's move on to the tarot reading. Again, I don't want this to be too long. If I do decide to analyze the chart, I will come back again and analyze each chart. Oh, Michael's Libra. Yeah, Michael's North Node in Libra. I think that Michael tried to meet his North Node. I would definitely say that, and again, I don't know them personally. We don't know them personally. So when I do these celebrity North Node predictions, or if they met their North Node purpose, it's based on what we can see and what we know. Prince for sure with that Scorpio energy. Prince for sure. Michael with the Libra energy. Well, Aquarius, 23. Okay, so with Libra energy, it is about collaborating, uniting people, coming together, not being very self-involved. South Node in Aries in the first house would be someone who's very self-involved, someone who is all about themselves, who is just focusing on just what they need. And I don't think Michael was very selfish. He was not a very selfish person, and you typically don't see that with Venus and Leo in the first place. You're not going to see a very selfish person, especially sixth house. Sixth house is a house of Mercury. It's organization, but it's also about effectiveness. And sometimes you can definitely see through that house, which is a Virgo associated house, with service, giving back, giving to someone. So you definitely didn't see selfishness. Very protective over his image and what he wanted it to look like. Of course, there have been a lot of things we can look at, transits of some of the more difficult times in Michael's life. Definitely, I think, had more controversy than Prince. Prince had controversy for some of the content of his music and the sexual lyrics and, some of the outfits and things of that nature that he might have wore. But he even has that song, Controversy, right? But Prince didn't have any, personal controversy types of things. There were some personal things, of course, that happen to all people and all celebrities, but Michael had more, the legal the allegations, and so that would be something to look for in transits, perhaps. So we're gonna move to the other video. All right, so now we're gonna jump into this tarot reading that I did about this. So this is what's gonna be very, very interesting, is that I don't know. All of a sudden I'm like, how did Michael and Prince view each other? It's interesting. So, obviously rest in peace to both of them as musical icons that have influenced, many generations of people. So, this is just entertainment purposes only, just tapping into the energy of the situation and doing this reading. So the first thing I pulled were two cards. I want to say, what was it that they felt about each other? Did they get along? What's the first emerging energy? So I got from this this deck that I have, this first deck here, which is the Greek mythology cards. We have Perseus, we have gifts in reverse, and then we have the friendship card. Sorry, it's blurred out because there's an image on it that I don't know if YouTube will allow. But so it's interesting because when we look at it, we definitely can see when I get the Page of Cups. So the thing with tarot that you have to understand is, some of is that once you learn the meanings of the cards, you tap into your intuition, you're not going to read it word for word. You're going to get the card. The card is a universal symbol, but through our consciousness and if we are spiritually aware, we get to tap into what that means. So we're not literally just telling you what the meaning of a card is. We have to sense what that means. I think with the Page of Cups, it's very lighthearted. It is very much like, I don't think they disliked each other hardcore, but they were cordial enough not to create a real rivalry. There was a subtle, because think about it, if any time, the thing is, people keep comparing you long enough, even though you don't like comparisons. I remember Michael said he didn't like to be compared. I'm pretty sure Prince was very vocal. That Mercury and Gemini, more vocal. He was very more vocal about his disdain and distaste for certain things. And I think Virgo and Gemini, I feel like, can both kind of be that way. Virgo is more particular, but Gemini is just going to say it, right? Just kind of, word it in a way. And so with the gifts being here, I think both of them viewed each other as, what this was telling me was that both of them viewed each other as talented. They both viewed each other as talented. There was no doubt about that. There was no dislike for each other's music. There just was a cordial type of situation, very much acknowledgement of each other, but there was no real effort for them to really buddy up or be friends or anything like that. Okay, so then I pulled these cards because I wanted to understand, what did they think about each other potentially? What was their feelings about each other in general? So we started here, Michael. So I started with Michael, and I looked and I saw, okay, so I got this card up here. I got the 7 of Cups, 7 of Hearts, and I was like, illusion, inspiration. Okay, so not that Michael was not as inspired. Their sounds were very different. You cannot say that their sounds were similar. But what you will notice is that I think I'm getting Michael saying he did like a song. He liked a song. There's a song that Michael probably liked of Prince's. And however, getting this indecision one, I don't know if there was opportunity before for them to collaborate on something, or someone had this mastermind idea, but it obviously just didn't happen. It fell through. I think there was like an opportunity perhaps for them to collaborate. A lot of people like, well, why didn't like two of the biggest icons of all time not collaborate on a song together? A lot of people are both Prince and Michael fans. But yeah, there was either, and swords can mean like a lot of things got misconstrued. There was deliberation, but they never collaborated on a song together. The Six of Cups in reverse, they don't really have like fond memories of each other. Like, I wouldn't say there aren't any moments, defining moments where they're like, thinking to themselves that they personally, were buddy or friends or anything of that nature, So we have to understand the fact that I do recall, I feel like there was more opportunity from Michael as the Virgo. So, interesting that they both were ruled by Mercury. But Michael was more willing to collaborate, most likely, than Prince, is what I remember hearing something like that a long time ago. But that's what I think it was. Like, something was extended, and then it was like, no. Something was extended. There was an opportunity. Look at this indecision card, and something just fell through where someone was just like, no, this is not going to happen. And so there was no time to come together. There was none of that. This card here is you can't see the card what it's called, but it's the observation. I think they definitely paid attention to each other's careers. They definitely paid attention to each other's careers. Not in the sense that they were emulating each other or needed to, but observing, like from a distance. And again, I'm getting like this Michael thing of like kind of from a distance observing what he's doing, and just kind of like watching and like seeing what the other one's, has going on, but not really always admitting that they're fans of each other, most likely. So then I was like, okay, so what did Prince perhaps think about Michael? And so what's interesting, I got the Ten of Wands in reverse. And it's interesting. I'm a fan of both, but I remember hearing before something like people thought Prince thought he could do things better than Michael, or there was a different level. I'm getting Prince was more like, no, we're not on the same level. No, I'm not doing the same thing he's doing. Like Prince was, again, a little bit more explicit. He believed a little bit more in what he was doing. Again, his North Node was conjunct Neptune. So, Prince's body of work is different in that regard. However, Ten of Wands for Prince about what he thought about Michael. So I wonder as much like, the first thing that popped in my mind was feeling like Michael had a direct route into music more so than he did. Like feeling like, well, you got to be a part of a group when you were younger. You met all these people that helped your career. Like people already knew who you were. I had to work harder. That's what I'm getting a little bit. Like, and again, when we get this, I think it's all lighthearted. I don't think there's any major drama. Just, when people compare you constantly, sometimes when people compare two people together who aren't already, like they're not already friends, I don't want to say it's always animosity. I think sometimes it creates a division of like, if you're going to keep calling me this person, I'm going to show you I'm not. And that's what I'm getting more from Prince of like this. But I'm also getting this here of like, there was definitely perhaps a feeling about his work ethic, or a difference of like, I'm doing something different than him. Or I had to be self-made. I didn't have, a group. I didn't have that. So he did have Prince in the new generation, but I'm not talking about the groups that he created. I'm talking about like Michael Jackson having an earlier start. But again, for Michael, that was hard because he had to give up a lot of his childhood to perform. And so that is, something that bothered him a lot, the missing, the loss of his childhood. The High Priestess card coming up was very interesting. And so with that card, it's very, it was very weird to come up at first, but I almost once said like with him and what he thought about Michael, I think there was also this this understanding and awareness and acceptance of each other's style. And the high priestess definitely deals with like intuition and sensing things and noticing things. And so I almost wonder if like he knew that collaborating with with Michael, he just wasn't feeling it. Like he felt like it wouldn't have worked out. I think there was also this kind of reluctancy to really feel like he didn't want to be overshadowed. And so I think the reason why is Prince maybe felt something was off, like this wouldn't have worked. Like it's like, no, that wasn't gonna work. And the older Prince might have done it. The older Prince might have done it, but the younger Prince was like, no, at the time it just wouldn't have been right. So again, interesting card to come up. And so now we're gonna move on to one more card about this particular question. So yeah, opportunity beckons. Okay, so I think this is relating back to this idea of there was an opportunity for them to come together, but it didn't happen. It wasn't green lighted. And again, I don't know if it was probably Prince himself or someone on his team just did not green light it. Like, no, this is not a good move. You shouldn't. You should keep your individuality. Also, there was fears at the time, perhaps, of one overshadowing the other. Like, if you make a song, I think Prince did not want to be compared to Michael at all, and therefore didn't want to go along with them collaborating. Now, the next question is, what do they think about the industry now? So I asked next, what do both of them think about the industry today? It's so interesting that Beyonce gave up. Beyonce's another Virgo. But what do they think about the industry today? What do Prince and Michael think about the industry today? So the three of Pentacles in reverse. Now I want to preface this by saying this is just a reading that I'm doing. There is a theme of the industry. So this is not at all to say that there aren't people out here like doing miraculous and amazing work. We're not saying there aren't artists out there. We're not saying everyone has to be at the magnitude of Prince and Michael Jackson. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the landscape in general, the whole thing. Okay, what do they think about it? Most likely, the Three of Pentacles in reverse. One of them is like, they're not putting the same work and skill in it. They're not putting the same work and skill in. You guys know Prince was a musician. He played instruments. So there's this idea of like, they're not putting the right work in. They're not putting the same amount of work in. It's not the same. It's not the same skill. That's what I'm getting. Also, Beyonce, in this deck, the Illust Tarot deck, is the Death card. Transformation. They're like, yeah, it's changed. This is just changed a lot. Now, to be quite honest, both of them had put music out in the 2000s. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember when both deaths were. Okay, Michael's was 2009. Prince was like 3. Let me look at Prince's. I don't remember. Let me see. I want to say, was Prince's 2016? Wow, is that close? Okay, for some reason I thought it was late. It was okay. Prince, wow, 2016. Oh wow, 2016. Okay, so Prince 2016 and Michael in 2009, I believe. I think I remember that one very distinctly. Michael Jackson was like June or something. Yep, he died June 25th, 2009. Okay. So both of them had reinvented their styles. They had made music. They had made music in contemporary times. You get what I'm saying? So both of them had songs out that kind of captured on whatever the current vibe was. But there's definitely this transformation card coming up. There's the 10 of Wands in reverse coming up again. And it's like they don't have to go. I'm hearing they don't have to go through the same hurdles that we went through. They don't have it as bad as, not bad. I think it's like the work ethic, because the 10 of Wands is about the oppression to get to a certain point, and the work ethic. So I'm getting, they don't have the same work ethic. It's not the same. They have it easier, but they're not taking advantage of it. It's like this message here. And the Magician card I'm gonna go to, but they're like, but wait, influence. They're like, but they don't have the same control. They definitely, both Michael and Prince had way more intricate knowledge, I think, of the industry and the way that it works. And the Magician card in reverse is like, they're saying like nowadays, they're like, someone else is in charge. Like it's someone else in charge. They're like, it's a different energy. Like, it's always been a bit predatory, but it's like a different energy. And this 4 here, There's four right here. So the Four of Pentacles is keeping things close to you. Okay, they're like it's about the money. They're like, no, it wasn't all about the money. Yeah, get your money that you earned, but it wasn't always about the money. It's very interesting. The Four of Pentacles coming up. It's keeping something close to yourselves, preserving something for yourself. Yep, legacy. Like, the card that this card and what I'm sensing about this is more about saying, well, they're not necessarily have the same legacy or staying power. Like, hold your money, keep your money, don't overspend your money. You shouldn't have, that's what I'm getting. It's more of an advice card, I think. It's more of an advice coming through with that. So then I asked, is there anything we should know about their deaths? I didn't go as direct or as far into this, so this is just what I happen to have. I just pulled two cards for this question. So for Michael, we got the relating card here. And so that to me is like there's someone close to him, maybe people, they know more details than we perhaps know. There's more details perhaps than we know, someone that he's related to or someone that he is in close contact with. I can't, I didn't ask for any clarifying cards for this, but there could be like, there's something more someone knows. Okay. And then first I got the secrets card. So again, both interesting cards to come up that have to do with like, yeah, there's like minor details. There's certain things we might not know right now. I think there was obviously a lot of articles, a lot of, investigations done when both of them died. So very similar circumstances in a way when we think about how they both died. Very eerie in a way, even though it's weird. It's like even when we know why some people passed away, it's eerie to see similarities in how some people passed away. So secrets, I don't know, the Prince one, I think it was, we know how he passed away, but it's like almost like there might be underlying things about it that we just don't know, we're not privy to, or some people might be, but they just haven't shared it. So then I asked, what would they say was their legacy on the world? Your music touches millions of people. You have a legacy that is here forever, as long as humankind is around. So for Michael, we got the deep cellular healing. Okay, and I do think that part of Michael's journey was healing. When you think about Pisces or Virgo energy, there's a healing aspect to that. There is a, both of Prince and Michael being mutable, the mutable signs. And what does that mean about the ability to change and adapt and become better and different versions of yourself over time? So it says, here we have Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. Like he wanted to heal through his music. He wanted people to feel connected to his music. Like never wanted to put out something that was not as thorough as he could make it. And then the other one we have, hold your vision. Don't let go of your vision. Don't believe that it's not possible. Allow yourself to become what you want to be. We think about his journey of like, I'm pretty sure when he first decided to break from the Jackson 5, there was a huge issue with that. There was, because the brothers, a lot of them was the Jackson 5, but you know what I mean? There was this sentiment of like, what about us? Like Michael's going to do this on his own. So, but Michael knew that he was a solo star and that he had to do that. And, when we see any first house placements, at that chart, he has that moon in that first house. It's he wanted to emotionally express himself and do his music without feeling like he had to collaborate all the time with someone else. He wanted to, he wanted probably more to pick and choose when he did those things. All right, and then for the Prince one, we got, it's time to release negativity, full moon in Scorpio. Okay, and then rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. And I definitely think his message, Prince's message for his purpose is a little bit more transformative. That's very interesting because he has that Scorpio North Node. He has that Neptune in Scorpio too. So it's very interesting how with Michael's message, I feel like it was a little bit more uplifting and positive, more so with Prince, I feel like it's more of an evolution. You know, this is an energy of like, it's time to release negativity. It's time to evolve. It's time to move past the mistakes of yesterday and to really embrace what we can do tomorrow. That's what I'm getting. I don't know where that came from, but that's what I'm getting when I channel like what was Prince's message to the world. And surrender to the alchemy of life is you have to allow yourself to live and explore and use that experience to really uplift yourself out of whatever situation that you're in. And that was done through music. So yeah, so hopefully you like this reading. Again, this is very different. I have not done tarot on my channel for a very long time. But I want to, sometimes I just feel inspired to do certain readings and I don't know what to do with the energy and I just have to put something together. So if you watch this, thanks for watching.